I personally lost 50 pounds, and my primary form of exercise during that time was walking. I had a back injury that was literally preventing me from going to the gym and lifting weights. When it comes to weight loss, it's 80% the food that you eat and 20% the exercises that you do. With the cheat meal, though, it creates this unsustainable mindset where food has to be earned. And cheat meals also inherently mean that some foods are good and some foods are bad.
Okay, Jen Coco, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm super excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you as well. Let's go ahead and start with some rapid fire Q&A, okay? You can just answer
Okay.
first thing that comes off your mind, okay? What is one diet
Okay.
trend you tried that was complete bullshit?
Keto diet.
Ooh, that's a good quick answer. Overrated, underrated, cheat meals as a weight loss strategy.
I think it's overrated and honestly not sustainable.
1 to 10, just eat clean and exercise more as weight loss advice.
Like -500.
Can you lose weight and keep it off while still drinking wine and eating carbs?
10 out of 10, yes.
Yeah. Finish this sentence. The day I stopped obsessing over the scale was the day I...
Honestly, it was the day that I started living life for me, which made transformation so much easier.
I love that. Let's go back to the keto. How long were you on keto and what was it like for you? Because I never tried
Oh
it,
man,
but yeah, I've heard not great things.
I did not last long at all. I learned that I am someone who absolutely needs carbs just to function, just to be able to use my brain properly. But I think things like keto and intermittent fasting, there's always a time and place for certain protocols. But just because it works for 5% of the population does not mean it's something we should be recommending to 95% of the pop.
You also said you don't do cheat meals. Have you ever done that in the
Yeah.
past? And just kind of tell me what you think about it, and I'll tell you what I think about it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I will say I definitely used to believe in the cheat meal mentality where you have to be super, super good all week. And then with the cheat meal, though, it kind of creates this unsustainable mindset where food has to be earned, right? And cheat meals also inherently mean that some foods are good and some foods are bad. And having those food labels, right, creates such mental fatigue where every single day you're having to make those decisions of cutting out your favorite foods. And everything shifted for me when I went from that kind of diet restriction to then binge overeating cycle was following that 80-20 rule, where it was like, hey, I'm just going to focus on eating 80% whole, healthy, nutritious foods and 20% as treat foods. And that really shifted my mindset because cheating, that's not really something that we want, right? It's like if you're in a relationship, you're not like, this is my cheat meal. I'm going to go sleep with this other person or make out with this other person. Inherently, it's not something that we want from a psychological standpoint. So instead, it was like taking those rules off the table and having a healthy relationship with all the foods.
Did you grow up with that cheat meal mentality as well? Have you ever heard it from family or parents or anything like that?
I wouldn't say that I necessarily grew up with the cheat meal mentality, but I definitely grew up with a calorie counting mentality of eating the lean cuisines, eating the meal replacement protein bars,
Yeah.
being very aware of what calories were in my food very early on.
I did grow up with cheat meal. My parents were always on this some sort of diet kick. And then every Sunday, Italian family would be a cheat day, and it would just be all the bread, all the pasta, all the cheese, all the things. And then on Monday, you just feel like shit, but you're back in this diet mentality of these are the eating clean days and these are the cheat days. And I'm like, what are we cheating on? Why did we do that for so long?
Yeah. How did that affect your relationship with food growing up?
Well, of course, not great. Had a lot of binge eating and disordered eating in the past. And same thing, lean cuisine. I had the packaged meals where I'd bring them into work. And this was my lunch. And I don't know about you, but those lean cuisine meals last an hour. I'm hungry in 2 seconds, I
Yeah.
feel.
Oh, girl, if your lunch or your dinner has 250 calories, that is a snack.
Yeah.
It's not a meal.
Yeah. So let's start with like the real problem. I mean,
Okay.
we're around the same age. I think you're a little bit younger than me,
Mhm.
but millennials, we've got like decades of diet culture and fad diets. I hear
Yeah.
the like women commit to a new diet on Monday or on like the start of a new year, on the start of the new month.
Yeah.
And for the
Mhm.
most part, women specifically think it's like this like problem. What do you
Yeah.
feel like it's actually about that they're just constant like in these cycles of like bad diets and trying the new thing?
Yeah. I do believe a study came out that said that the average woman tries to lose weight 5 times per year, at least in the United States. I don't know what's happening outside of the US. That's a completely different podcast and
Yeah.
conversation. But I do think the reason why that happens is a lot of women, in my opinion, they're very hardworking, they're very high achieving. And so when they set their mind to something, it very much becomes this all or nothing mentality
Hmm.
where I have to be completely perfect. I have to restrict my calories as much as possible. I want to be efficient. So what do? They go on a diet, they restrict their calories to 1,000 calories a day, 1,200 calories a day. They start doing really intense cardio and workouts 5, 6, 7 days per week. And they end up going so hard so fast that they burn themselves out, right? They burn out and then they decide, I just need a break. It's just not, I just can't do this. I'm just not the fit type, right? Maybe I'm just not meant to be lean or happy or skinny or toned, only to then not reach their goals. And then 1 to 2 months later realize, oh my gosh, I want to get back on the wagon. And so I think the extremes of that all or nothing mentality is really the biggest thing holding them back instead of taking a look at what is that sustainable approach that I can see myself doing, not just for the next 30, 60, 90 days, but what can I see myself doing a year from now, 2 years from now? What is going to build into my lifestyle? What is going to allow me to still live my life while transforming my body? Because if your diet forces you to give up all the fun things that you want to start doing once you lose the weight and feel happy and confident in your skin, what's the point?
Yeah. How do we get out of that all or nothing mindset? I feel like I hear that from prospective clients, past clients. Like, if you've been in it for so long, you can even work with us for, a certain amount of time, but like
Mhm.
sometimes it's easy to like even slide back. So like, how do we get out of that? Like, how do we get out of the all or nothing mindset?
I think getting out of it, instead of focusing on these are my absolute must do's, I like to set minimum baseline standards, right? So instead of saying I have to go to the gym 7 times a week, I might say what feels really realistic for me, weightlifting 3 times a week, right? What can I guarantee that I commit to? Can I guarantee 5,000 steps a day or 7,000? Like, I don't know who it was that decided 10,000 steps per day was just the standard across the entire health fitness industry. But I swear to God, the number of times I hear it, 10,000 steps a day. Uh,
I know.
um, but also focusing on our lifestyle stressors. Like, I also think the lifestyle gap is one of the biggest things. Our sleep, our stress, our mental and emotional health. For so many of us, we are taught to use food as a coping mechanism. And so when we do decide that we want to transform our body and shift our body composition, we start reducing our food, reducing our calories. But now we don't have a healthy coping mechanism for when you have a long day at work. We don't have a coping mechanism for when you get in a fight with a loved one. So focusing on your mental and emotional well-being will do so much more for you than that extra gym session at the end of the week.
Ooh, I'm so glad you said that because for the most part, a lot of women think that they just need to do more. They just need to work out more
Yeah.
and eat less, right? Like that's all we ever hear. So
Yeah.
if you are someone that say like works out a lot, they're not maybe not seeing the results and they're
Mhm.
still in that all or nothing and they're like 3 times a week, like there's no way that's enough. Like how would you potentially get them to change that mindset or see that differently?
Yeah. I think it's a tough one because there is so much propaganda out there saying, here's my body after working out 6, 7 days a week, or
Yeah.
trends like 75 hard. I think it's showing them results. I personally lost 50 pounds, and my primary form of exercise during that time was walking. I had a back injury that was literally preventing me from going to the gym and lifting weights. So, as far as fat loss, weight loss goes, it's totally possible without the gym. My present day physique that actually has muscle tone and strength and, those kind of like lines on your belly, that comes from going to the gym and weightlifting. But when it comes to weight loss, it's 80% the food that you eat and 20% the exercises that you do. Just look up a TDEE chart and it will tell you that. So with our clients, what we always say is pick how many hours per week you can commit to your health and fitness journey. And if they're used to going to the gym 6 days a week, I'm like, awesome, cool. Go 3 days a week and spend those other 3 in the kitchen, prepping your meals, going to the grocery store, working on your food, because that's what's going to give you the biggest ROI and bang for your buck in terms of time spent and results seen.
Okay, I love that. The change of going 6 days a week to using those same hours somewhere else. I love that you said in the kitchen. We can also take that to, movement in some other capacity. Like you said, walking, you lost, 50
Yeah.
pounds just walking. What are some, let's kind of go into the nutrition a little bit. Like you
Cool.
are someone that has lost 50 pounds just through nutrition and walking. What were the first few steps you took just on the nutrition side of things?
I quite literally had never even cooked raw meat before my health and fitness journey. Like, I was eating so many processed foods. I was going out to eat. I was getting a lot of takeout. I was perpetually terrified that I would give myself food poisoning if I cooked a chicken breast from scratch. And so I actually learned how to cook. I went from going out to eat for every single meal to cooking everything at home. We're eating a lot of frozen dinners. Like I said, I grew up on lean cuisines, microwave dinners, things like that. So really teaching myself how to cook from home was the biggest game changer, and focusing on those outer aisles of the grocery store, right? I'm sure you hear this all the time. I'm sure you say this all the time too, right? If it comes in a package, it already had to go through a factory just to get there. And so focusing on produce, focusing on meats, focusing on clean dairies, and again, not being restrictive in a sense of I can't have carbs or I can't have sugar, but really just building in that balance was the biggest thing for me. And then personally on my journey, I also made a conscious decision to weigh and measure and track my food. I know that is a controversial topic in the health and fitness industry. And I know for some people, it's not the best for their mental and emotional well being. And I fully support women who make that choice for themselves. And I will say for myself and for a lot of women, there's just so much value in that education and learning what an actual appropriate portion size of food is. So even if you're not tracking for the rest of your life, just tracking for 7 days or 30 days, it's such an eye-opening experience on what a true portion of peanut butter might look like, or a true portion of olive oil might look like, or how many calories are just in those different snacks that you just grab and go, like trail mix. A lot of these high fat foods that are healthy, avocado is healthy, olive oil is healthy, trail mix, like those are all healthy, but they're incredibly calorically dense. So many of us are eating way more food than we actually know we're eating just because we don't have the education around it.
Yeah. Okay. I love what you first said about like learning to cook. I'm like the same way. Fortunately, I do have a really great husband that makes most of the meals for me. So I don't have to
Amazing.
cook much, but like just learning, right? Like you said, you didn't know how to cook chicken. Like, how did you learn how to cook chicken for the first time?
There, well, there's this amazing thing called Google.
Yeah. Right. Like,
This was before ChatGPT, right? So literally just going on Google, Pinterest was my best friend.
Yeah.
Like I still find all my favorite recipes. Now I love finding recipes on TikTok and Instagram, but also getting a meat thermometer was such a game changer. So, because I would overcook the crap out of my chicken. It would be so dry because I was like, I don't care. I'll eat the driest chicken breast ever as long as I don't get food poisoning.
yeah. No salmonella over here in Jen's house.
Yeah, exactly.
There is so much content out there that can teach you how to do things. Like I was watching a TikTok video of like how to cut things, how to like chop vegetables the other day. I was like, oh, I'm actually like doing them inefficiently. Like now this video is teaching me how to do it. We have so much like information just at our fingertips. And so you just going out there being like, I want to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. And you just did again before all of the social media and stuff. So there's so much more information now. But also if we like talk about the tracking piece of it, I think it can be so valuable for people. even
Yeah.
just like to understand that portion piece of it, right? And you
Hmm.
can go into just weighing out the trail mix or the snacks that you're eating, like starting there will just be
Yeah.
like you said about the peanut butter. You think that you're eating like a regular serving, but it's actually like way more than you think.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I would literally just go in with a spoonful in the jar and just be eating it while on my phone or watching Netflix and not really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And could easily be eating 600 to 800 calories in just peanut butter
Yeah.
and then still needing a whole meal after that to nourish my body with the appropriate amounts of protein and carbs.
Outside of just like understanding actually the portion size that you're eating, what do you think else could be
Hmm.
beneficial? The outside of that, and actually like tracking the amount of calories that's in food, what else do you feel like is beneficial for you tracking your food sometimes?
I think just making the mental commitment and decision to
Hmm.
do that. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, whether it's online or whether it's clients that just say, "Oh, I just don't want to track. It's so much work. It's so time consuming. It's so hard." And then I'm like, just do it for a week. Just do it for a week. And they do it and they realize how easy and simple it is. When I was tracking my food scale, it just lived on the counter. It was always there, front and center. So it was super easy to remember. And then I did a lot of meal prep. So I know not everyone loves leftovers. I wouldn't say that I look forward to my leftovers, but I love efficiency and
Yeah.
it makes my life so much easier. So by meal prepping, right, you can enter all of those ingredients, create a recipe, and then divide it up into portions. And so even if on Tuesday, I maybe only logged 400 calories, but maybe had a 500-calorie serving, I know on Wednesday, I'm only going to get 300 calories because of the way it all sort of maths out in the recipe. So that was incredibly helpful as well, just to make things a lot easier.
Yeah. Easy efficiency, like if you're super busy, like that kind of stuff could be really helpful for you too. Are you the type of person that does like prep stuff, like and actually like eat the prepped food?
I would say I definitely used to be.
Yeah.
Like that was my bread and butter for probably the first 3 to 4 years of my journey. Now that I live with my husband, whenever I prep a meal, suddenly 60 to 70% of it goes missing
Oh,
mysteriously. So at this point, cooking a whole dinner for us gets us dinner for me, dinner for him, and one lunch for me. So at this point, I used to do a Sunday meal prep every single Sunday, and I would have boom, 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 4 or 5 lunches pre-prepped, ready to go. Now my lunch prep is just my dinner that I cooked the night before. How
okay.
do you guys do it in your house?
Yeah, good question. I personally love like prepped breakfasts and lunches. And so
Mm.
I'll cut up a bunch of veggies for the week and then my husband grills chicken because I don't actually touch the raw meat either. And then will literally have the same veggies and that chicken through the week, maybe with
Yeah.
some sort of grain, and then I'll just like switch out the dressing. So I'll be like, oh, okay, like
Oh, cool.
salsa today, and then tomorrow is like soy sauce, and like the next day is like I don't know, like a Mediterranean tzatziki and hummus, but it's all the same veggies and chicken. It's just like a slightly different variation of it. And then I'm like, I love overnight oats. I feel like I've been eating them for the past like 6 years every day, no matter what. So I do three in a row.
Yeah.
So I'll prep three on Sunday and then I'll prep three on Wednesday.
Amazing. What
Very
kind of
basic.
flavors do you put in your oats?
It's so basic, Jen. It's like yogurt, oatmeal, protein powder is like the base. And then,
Okay.
some cinnamon, a little bit of vanilla, some nuts. Maybe if I'm feeling fancy, I'll put some chocolate chips in there and then
Wow.
maybe a banana. And then the next morning, we'll put in some
Mm.
like some sort of fresh berries or some peanut butter. And yeah, it tastes great. I always look forward to it
Yeah.
actually, like my prepped meals, but I'm also just like a creature of habit at this point.
Yeah. Well, especially with how busy you are and how much you have going on, it just takes that decision fatigue off of your plate, which I think is something a lot of women struggle with. I mean, and men, I'm
Yeah.
sure, just struggle with in their daily lives. Like if you think about food in general, we have to make at a minimum 21 choices on a weekly
Yeah.
basis for our 3 meals. But then if we're also having snacks, if we're also going out with friends, that could get up to 25 to 30 decisions every single week just about how you're going to nourish your body.
Yeah. Let's talk about like going out then, because Not all of
Okay.
us. Like, I don't know if you're a homebody. I've never really been one until I turned like 30s and COVID. I'm like, now I could just like be home. But I'm sure there's people out there that like to go out and hang out with friends and go out to dinners and stuff. What are some like tips that we could give women that like to be social, drink and go out to eat and stuff like that for like their food choices?
Yeah, I think it's all about the choices that you make at the end of the day. And it's also about the intention that you have going into either that dinner or that social engagement. I know some people will choose to either give up or reduce alcohol during their journey just because it is empty calories at the end of the day, right? If you're having to choose between a whole dinner or a half dinner so that you can have three margaritas, I'm always going to point you in the direction of the whole dinner, but finding ways to pick lower calorie beverage options. So, can you get a drink that is like a shot of your favorite liquor and then some like 0 calorie soda water or sparkling water? My mom doesn't drink. She has this favorite drink. She calls it the Fancy Nancy. And it's literally just sparkling water with either cranberry juice or pomegranate juice, a little bit of stevia. So it still feels like she's having this fun, bubbly drink with the girls, but not actually consuming any alcohol. So just avoiding any super sugary mixed drinks is going to save you so many calories. Another thing that you can do is if you are specifically on a weight loss, fat loss journey and your goal is to be in a calorie deficit, like I would literally have a meal or a very high protein snack before going out to a restaurant. So then I wouldn't feel so tempted to order the calorically dense foods. I think a lot of people will, almost like the cheat meal conversation we were having earlier, they will restrict their calories so that way they're saving all these awesome calories for when they go out to eat. But then their body feels so restricted and so limited that they end up way overcompensating because their body is just craving as many high calorie foods that it possibly can. And then it sort of creates this opportunity to open the floodgates where it's like, well, I've already fallen off and tonight is Friday. So Saturday and Sunday, it's just a free for all. And I'm just going to eat all the foods that I haven't allowed myself to eat all week. And I'll start again on Monday. So I think having a high protein meal beforehand, limiting empty calories in super calorically dense, sugary drinks. And then also just sharing foods, right? If you think of the portion sizes here in the US, they just give us the largest portions. And if you're on a date night or you're with your girlfriends and everyone's ordering an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert, you could easily just be splitting those things. It's going to be great for your calories and great for your bank account too, the fewer items that you have on the table.
Oh gosh, I don't drink anymore, and I go out to friends with that do drink, and I'm like, the drinks are
Yeah,
$20 now. Like it's
no.
insane. You have two drinks, and that's like already $50 of the meal. Like you're saving so much money. So many good tidbits there. Let's go into the. You said have a high protein meal or snack before you go. What are some examples? Or like stuff that you've done or some of your clients that have done like before going out that would be helpful.
Yeah. I hope that this doesn't sound totally wackadoodle, but I would literally have like a whole chicken breast before going out to dinner later because if I wasn't sure what kind of protein was going to be available, that's what I would do. For someone else, it might be Greek yogurt,
Yeah.
right? And then if you really want to double up, throwing in some protein powder with the Greek yogurt. In a pinch, you can always have a protein shake or a protein bar. But I know for me personally, those just don't keep me full very long. There's actually a lot of studies and research that show, right, that liquid calories in terms of satiation over long term have I guess, a much lower satiation point than solid calories. And one study that absolutely blew my mind. Have you heard of the study with the lab mice and how they either gave them like a full piece of chicken or a pulverized piece of chicken?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, I might butcher the details on it, but basically, there was a study they did on lab mice where they had these mice and they were giving the mice the same amount of calories every single day, but one group got food in like its whole form. So let's just say like regular sized chicken breast. One got the food chopped up into really small pieces, and then one group got the food in almost like a blended pulverized format.
Hmm.
And what they found was that even though all the mice were getting the same number of calories per day, the mice that were getting the pulverized and blended food were consistently gaining more weight than any of the other mice in the studies, just because of how your body is processing those food and those calories. I wish I had the study up because it would be so much better. But it's such a cool example of just the way that your food is served, how it affects your appetite.
That's so interesting. And now that you think about it, every time I have a smoothie, even if there's like protein powder in it, I'm like, I could eat in a couple hours. Or like a protein
Mhm.
bar, same thing. And then I think of like, I love that you said like have a grilled piece of grilled chicken or have a piece of chicken. I like have always have rotisserie chicken on hand just for this factor, right? It's like it
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but it's actually, well, it actually always tastes good and it's going to give you high protein where you're not like you're a little bit more, you're satisfied for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're satisfied longer, your tummy is full, and you're happy.
Yeah. Okay. So we said like have some sort of protein beforehand. It doesn't have to be a piece of chicken, but the Greek yogurt one's great, especially with protein powder. But I love what you're saying about like eating it rather than just drinking it. Why do you know why? Maybe this is like a study you talked about too, but like, do you know why like protein bars also might not leave you hungry for longer too?
I'm sure it depends on the bar,
Yeah.
right? But I've just noticed for me personally, anything that is highly processed, my body just processes it super quickly.
Yeah.
I know a lot of highly processed foods lack fiber. And when you lack fiber, your body just breaks it down, digests it super, super quickly. Um, Again, this would be such a deeper conversation on like how the food industry, right, is processing our foods so
Yeah.
that we eat more, so that we buy more, so that they make more money. But I think paying attention to fiber is also such an underrated aspect of your health and wellness journey, especially if you're someone who, when you are in a calorie deficit and trying to lose weight, if you always feel like you're hungry, and even if you're eating enough protein, if you're not eating enough fiber on a daily basis, that's going to have very similar effects as being protein deficient.
You also mentioned maybe you worded it slightly different, but almost like banking your calories, where maybe you know you're going out over the weekend
Mhm.
and you have a little bit more because you've been, I don't want to say strict on your diet, but you've been pretty like, you've been eating well throughout the
Yeah.
week. So you have a little bit extra. Is
Mhm.
this something like that is super beneficial for people? And should we be looking at it as like a whole week of calories or food consumption of these 25 choices you mentioned? Or is like each day different?
I would say when it comes to calorie baking, it's a really awesome tool when done in moderation.
Okay.
So, if I were to walk someone through a calorie banking protocol, I would not want them banking more than 1 to 200 calories per day. Because if you're eating in a caloric deficit on standard, you're already eating 300 to 500 fewer calories on a daily basis. So,
Yeah.
if you're now taking out another 300, 400, 500 calories, you might only be left with 1,000 calories per day, which is going to one make you feel like absolute crap.
Yeah.
Two, it's going to slow down your metabolism. It's going to just confuse the heck out of your body, and it's not going to give you the right energy to build muscle in the gym. And so your workouts are kind of going to be in vain in a sense. And so if you want a calorie bank 1 to 200 calories a day, so then that way you have an extra 600 calories for your Saturday night with the girls. Awesome. Cool. Um, but like, let's say it's your birthday and you really want to have the birthday cake and the birthday drinks and the birthday dinner. I also say on special occasions, like, don't worry about the calories. One bad day is not going to completely derail your progress. Just like one salad isn't going to give you a six pack. And so it's also thinking about, am I calorie banking for a special one time occasion, or is this like a regular part of my week that I maybe just need to be a little bit more intentional when I plan?
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm like, my birthday's every weekend. So I'm going to eat. Let's talk about weight loss because I know that's
Okay.
obviously a huge piece of, and we've been talking about calories and fat loss in general, but like, what do
Yeah.
you feel like the stories that women tell themselves that maybe sabotage their weight loss?
Oh my God. Well, right now I feel like the biggest story is around peptides and GLP-1s. And so I think one thing that I'm seeing, excuse me, one thing that I'm seeing a lot right now in the marketplace is anytime anyone loses weight, people just assume like, oh, she's on Ozempic, right? It feels like the natural weight loss mentality is just completely dissolving. I do think that there is a time and place for people to be adding in GLP-1s, Ozempic, tirzepatide. Like there's under medical supervision, if other things have been tried, okay, let's try a microdose and see where things go from there. But I think a lot of women, they go on a diet, they restrict their calories, they stick with it for 2 weeks. And then when they don't lose 30 pounds in 14 days, they decide, oh, like, I guess I just can't do it. Or I'm just not meant to be lean or happy or skinny or toned. It's my thyroid, it's my hormones, it's my metabolism. One thing that I love about the internet is that we have access to so much information and we can learn so much from it. But I also think that many times it does a disservice because we can misdiagnose ourselves when we lack the information. Like when I tell you, I was convinced that I had a thyroid problem and my thyroid was the reason that I wasn't losing weight. Like I was so sure of that, but I didn't have a thyroid problem. I didn't have a hormonal imbalance. The reality was I was not eating the right amount of calories that my body needed to sustainably lose fat. I was either eating way too much or way too little. I didn't have the proper guidance and support on what that appropriate calorie deficit was that I could see myself doing long term.
Can you actually just explain the difference? I think this might be helpful for people to understand the difference between weight loss and fat loss.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, right, fat loss, that is going to be specifically losing fat, whereas weight loss, you're losing fat, but you could also be losing muscle. You could also be losing bone density. You could also just be losing water weight, right? And so when we take a look at body composition, we know that muscle weighs more than fat. And so we sometimes even have people that gain 5 pounds, but they look like they've lost 10 because they've lost fat and built muscle. So it's a body recomposition plan instead of just focusing on, can I get as skinny as possible to have the number on the scale reflect the number that I used to see my junior year of high school.
So, for the most part, would you say that people are looking for fat loss rather than weight loss?
I think that they think they're looking for weight loss, but fat loss is what they actually want.
Maybe also what they need, but maybe don't know that they need
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay. You had mentioned like you were convinced that it was like the thyroid. You were convinced maybe it
Yeah.
could be hormones. Did you actually get tested for those things and then
Oh,
figure it
yeah.
out? Yeah. Okay.
100%. I was always having my, like, thyroid was getting tested once every year or maybe even every other year because fatigue is also something that I struggle with a lot, which is a common symptom of different like thyroid dysfunction, right? But again, everything always came back super normal and balanced. So it really was for me that the times that I was going on a diet, it was extremely restrictive. I was counting my calories. I was only eating wholly processed foods, like having 2 eggs for breakfast, a protein bar, and then a lean cuisine for lunch. And then if I didn't have any calories left over for dinner, it would be like a can of chicken noodle soup, right? And eating 1,000 calories a day would be so miserable that I would then end up binging, right, at the end of the night or binging at the end of the week. Or I remember trying these super sketchy, like fat loss pills. And I think they were just green tea, but I had to buy them online because I wasn't 18 yet. I couldn't buy them in the store.
Okay.
And so I was also really committed to those quick fixes, right? Like signing P90X, these like really shreddy, quick fat loss programs, 5-day cleanses. And again, I was so focused on how can I lose as much weight as physically possible in the shortest amount of time that it then wound up taking me 10 years to actually figure out a sustainable fat loss method that stuck.
What was the moment that you were like, I cannot do this shit anymore?
Yeah, it was the night of my 21st birthday.
Okay.
And I think I think a lot of 21-year-olds spend their 21st birthday going out to the bar, right? Getting their ID checked for the first time. It's so exciting. I spent it on my bathroom floor, totally sober, just like bawling my eyes out. Um, because that day, the one thing I wanted to do on my birthday was to go get cute photos, right? So I got all super dressed up, went to this flower field here in San Diego, and all I wanted was like cute photos so I could post a little like birthday thing on Instagram. And I remember like putting on my outfit and feeling like I looked really good and being excited to do this. Um, but then, we took the photos, it was super fun. But then as we're driving home, I'm scrolling through the photos and I literally did not recognize the girl in that photograph. And it was this weird out of body experience where it was like I knew that the girl in the photos was me, but I didn't identify as her. And I felt so lost in that moment because I really felt like my outside and how I portrayed myself just like didn't match who I was on the inside. And I stepped on the scale that night and I saw that it said 205 pounds, which, mind you, I'm 5'11, so we just carry weight differently, right? Maybe than someone who's more of an average typical height. But I had gained maybe 15 pounds over the course of that semester. Like I had no idea that I had made it to the 200s. It was the heaviest weight I had ever been. And I remember thinking to myself, 21, at that point, I was like, I'm so old, right? Like I'm such a grown up. But I remember thinking, I'm about to finish school and I'm going to graduate. I'm going to be in the real world. And even though I've tried diets my whole life, I don't feel like I've ever taken my health seriously. And if I can't take my health and myself seriously, how can I expect the outside world to do the same? And so I think at that time, weight loss, it really was a primary goal and focus for me. Now that I'm 31, I'm like, hey, my value has nothing to do with the number on this scale. And I wish I could go back and give that version of me a really big hug and tell her everything is going to be okay. But I think I really needed to hit that rock bottom of just like, I need to change in order for me to finally do the things that I did to create the transformation that I had.
Yeah, it's crazy. I not similar story, but like right around that same time, it was right around like 20 or 21 for me where I was like in this constant like binge eating cycle where I was like restrict all day and then binge. And then you look at those
Yeah.
pictures now and you're like, who is that person? Um,
Yeah.
so how did you then just like get, besides saying, I need to make this change. I want to like start this like healthy journey. How
Hmm.
did you stop that like binge and restrict like cycle? Like how do you break the
Yeah.
pattern from the inside out?
It was really hard.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, at that point in time, I was really struggling with my mental health.
Hmm.
I was not doing well. I was in a super toxic relationship. I had very low self-esteem, very low self-confidence. And so food really was my coping mechanism for a lot of the stressors that I had. And binge eating was something that brought me just a lot of peace and fast and quick dopamine, right? But I was also isolating myself from my friends and I was doing it in private. It was like my friends would be going out and I'd be like, oh, sorry, I'm busy. I have plans. But in reality, I was ordering like the Domino's 2 for $6.99 and eating like crushing an entire Domino's pizza and then like a Caesar salad, which I know it sounds healthy, but I'm sure the Caesar salad probably had 1,200 calories in it if I had to guess because it was from Domino's. Um, and so the first thing that I did, and the thing that I think made the world of difference for me, was focusing on my mindset and my mental health during this journey. Every other time I had tried to lose weight, all I cared about was calories and being as skinny as I possibly could. Whereas this time, I started journaling every single day about my goals. I started visioning about who that version of me was going to become. I started visualizing her and um, again, I was 21 years old. I had never heard of a vision board, but when I look back on my journal, I realized I quite literally created a vision board without knowing what it was. I like printed out photos and taped them into this journal, and I wrote down um, goals and rewards. So it was like, after I lose my first 5 pounds, I am going to buy myself a new pair of like gym shoes. Or after I am consistent in the gym for 30 days, I'm going to buy a cute new workout outfit. And so I found ways to gamify my process with these tiny little bite-sized goals, because if you're staring at the number and you're like, I want to lose 50 pounds. Well, guess what? That's going to take you hopefully like 12 to 24 months if you're doing it in a sustainable way. And if I was going to wait 1 to 2 years to actually celebrate my goals, I knew I was going to give up. So breaking it down into those bite-sized pieces was so important for me. But then also facing, why are the reasons that I'm using food as this coping mechanism? What are the relationships in my life that I need to reevaluate? What are the friendships in my life that I need to reevaluate? What are the habits? What is my relationship with myself that I need to work on? And so I always say weight loss is a side effect of self-love and self-compassion. And so it really started there. And then the physical transformation came after.
Yeah. And you talk about self-worth and self-trust and self-awareness. Like what is that? How does that play into weight loss or fat loss journey?
I think it's everything. um, for many years, I was so focused on hating myself towards skinny that I forgot that it was about loving myself towards healthy.
Mm.
And so a big piece of this journey is also just about forgiving yourself for the past and forgiving yourself for even getting to where you were today, because you don't get to where you are overnight, right? It takes time and it takes a lot of decisions. And at least for me, I am like my own biggest critic. And I can be so hard on myself. And I blamed myself so deeply for all the things that were happening in my life. And that blame and that criticism would lead to and perpetuate the negative behaviors, right? I would cry to my boyfriend about how upset I was about being overweight, and then we would go get pizza to make me feel better about it, right? And so making that decision to love myself, forgive myself, go to therapy, journal, and really focus again on what does that best version of me look like, and what is one small step I can do to just feel proud of myself today. I think the biggest area of opportunity for growth and self-esteem is keeping your promises to yourself. And so many of us, we set this goal, we're going to go on a diet, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And it's such an unattainable standard that we end up breaking that promise. And then we learn that we can't be trusted, right? Because if you had a friend who, you know where I'm going with this, if you had a friend who every time she made a promise to you or he, but they kept breaking those promises, would you trust that friend over time?
No, and I love this analogy. It's so great. I've used it a couple times with like, I'm like, hey Jen, you want to come get coffee? And you're like, no, sorry, I can't. Hey Jen, you want to go get coffee? Yeah, I'll meet you there in 10. Hey Jen, where are you? You didn't show up for coffee. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'd probably get mad at you, but if I did that to myself over and over to the gym and I said, I'm going to go show up, and I just kept not showing up, it's just like we're doing that back to ourselves. And there is some of that, like, yeah, we should be upset with ourselves, but also like, how can we compassionately show up for ourselves? When you said the words like, why would you be able to trust yourself? So I guess the question back to you then is like, how will they trust themselves if they have quote unquote like failed so many times to not show up for themselves?
Yeah. You just have to be brave enough to break the story, right? You have
Yeah.
to just make that choice to show up day in and day out, no matter how hard it is. And you have to decide that you're going to change instead of just wanting to change. There's a difference between fantasizing about action and actually implementing it. And that implementation is what is going to build that self-esteem and that belief over time.
The other thing I'll ask you is like, how many times did you try to do this sustainably before it actually stuck?
Ooh, sustainably.
Yeah.
um,
Or how many
I
times
would
did you
say
try
this.
to do it in general, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I must have tried to lose weight at least 20 times before this, and it never worked. But I will also say that when I started, I'll call it like my final weight loss journey, where
Hmm.
I did lose the weight. For the first 3 months, I didn't lose a single pound.
Yeah.
And that was really freaking hard to
Yeah.
be eating like consistently, tracking on my food, getting my steps in. Like I knew that I was taking the right steps, but it still wasn't changing. And so when I tell you those 3 months tested me, they truly did. But I just kept telling myself, like, I have to keep going. I have to keep going. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm getting better, even if my waistline isn't getting smaller.
Mm. I'll put one little piece in there and then I want to go into the first 3 months you were just talking about is the
Yeah.
moment that you decide to stop trying, that's when you fail. And if you
Hmm.
keep trying, if you keep like going to not quit or not give up on yourself, like every single time
Yeah.
counts. It's that moment that you're like, fuck it, I can't do it anymore. That's when you officially fail.
Yeah. You only fail once you give up on yourself.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that first 3 months because that's when a lot of people will just jump off, right? Like I hear that a
Yeah.
lot with clients, and that's why we like to work with clients, for 6, 12, 24 months, because like
Yeah.
just like what you mentioned, you can't have a salad and get abs overnight. You can't work out for a couple
Yeah.
weeks and like think that this is who you are. Why does that
Hmm.
happen in the first 3 months? And like, how do you continue to show up even though you're not seeing any real quote unquote progress?
Yeah. I think the reason why it happens is really going to depend on the individual. I think for a lot of people, the reason why it doesn't happen in 3 months is they think they're eating in a calorie deficit, but they're actually not, right? They're forgetting to log certain snacks. They're tracking their food, but they're not actually weighing and measuring it. So their portion sizes are inaccurate. So I do think for many people, it can be just like user error and lack of support, right? Um, However, I think for lots of people too, their body just needs to reset, right? If you've been restricting calories on and off for years, if not decades, your metabolism has no idea what the heck is going on, right? And so it needs, in some cases, 3 to 6 months to really regulate and balance and understand this is my new normal, right? I'm sure you've probably had plenty of clients that came in under eating who you needed to put through a refeed phase and actually increase their calories over time, take them through a reverse diet, maybe even into maintenance and a surplus, where you can't even think about fat loss for 6 months, right? So I think it's about setting a new normal and setting a new standard for your metabolism. I know for me, I also had to get out of that relationship as well. So sometimes I say I didn't just lose 50 pounds, I lost 250 pounds because I feel like, obviously this has been 10 years. I wish nothing but the best for this person, but we just weren't the right fit as long-term life partners. And that really weighed on me mentally and emotionally. And I know for a lot of women, if they are in relationships where they feel, I'm just going to put a generic label, let's just say unsafe. When they are in relationships where they feel unsafe, whether it's romantic, friendship, familial, like there are so many studies that will show we will quite literally store and maintain excess unwanted body fat, regardless of the number of calories going into our body, just as a survival mechanism, like going way, way, way back to thousands of years ago. And so I think it was also making that decision to free myself of a relationship that I knew was not in service to my highest good and my best timeline, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've mentioned several times like the mindset and self-worth and self-awareness is so important that just what you said, it was like, and tell me if I'm wrong, did you see some progress, see some results, and really like zoom out and be like, wow, this person is really not for me? Or like, how did you get to that place too?
Yeah. I think I knew for a long time that that person wasn't for me. But I had such low self-esteem
Yeah.
that I stayed.
Yeah.
right? I really believed that no one else would ever love me, that I was broken, that I was the problem, and that being loved by the wrong person was better than not being loved at all.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's why I say that this really is a self love journey, just as much as it is a physical transformation journey, because I really had to be brave enough to just say, like, this isn't right. This isn't aligned, and this doesn't feel like a safe space for me. And I would rather be single for the rest of my life than be with a person who might make me feel good some of the time, but also made me feel really bad a lot of
Yeah.
the time too.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's like 50-50 physical versus mindset, or do you feel like mindset's actually a little bit more?
I think mindset's more, because your mindset is what drives the behavior, and your behavior is what gets you the results. So if your mindset's not in the right headspace, how could you possibly take the actions and the nutrition and the actual like physical aspects into it?
Was there someone or something that helped your mindset besides like the journaling and like the internal work? Was there anything that like really stood out to you that like got you to that next level to keep showing up for yourself?
I had two Well, I had a few really good friends that I leaned on in that journey. Again, 21 years old, I didn't really have the resources to hire a coach. I did have like I did pay for a custom meal plan that was built for my body. But in terms of that daily accountability, I had two really great friends, plus my mom, who really supported and checked in on me throughout that journey, and who I would talk to when I felt like giving up, and who I would talk to when I felt just really frustrated. And I really feel that their borrowed belief in me was such an amazing, I don't want to say like kick in the butt, but maybe like fire under my butt, or just icing on the cake that made it so that I kept going during those weeks that I really just wanted to give up on myself.
Now, do they know that you wanted this and were going through this journey, or like did you tell them up front, like, this is what I'm looking for?
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
did tell them up front. And I will say, most friends, right, when you tell them that you want to lose weight, what's their response? It's always, no, 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 you're fine. You're
Yeah.
perfect. You don't need to lose weight. Like, you're amazing. But these people, I felt, really listened to me, and they looked beyond just like the size of my jeans, and they really looked into what's going to make Jen happy. And I really told them about the confidence issues that I felt. And I told them about just like the energy. And I kind of really laid everything out on the table on why this journey was so important to me. And like, I think they just really bought into it. And so then they got really excited for me. And so then when it did come down to like going out to eat, they knew, like, oh, well, Jen's really committed to her journey for reasons X, Y, and Z. So let's go to the grocery store and cook a healthy meal from home. Or Jen's not drinking alcohol right now. So what is a fun non-alcohol related activity that we can do? And that support was so helpful, because the people that you live with, people that you share a house with, people that you spend time with, like, they're the biggest make or break in your health and wellness journeys. A lot of times it's like, we always hear the phrase of, you're the combination of the five people that you surround yourself with most. And that also applies to your health and fitness journey. Like, you are probably the typical fitness and health activity as the people that you spend the most time with as well. And so having people that really prioritize that as a value and supported me in that was huge as part of my journey.
It's so important, and we can't say that enough. We are so much like the people that we surround ourselves with. So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this right now and maybe don't have people like that in your life, how could you maybe not go get friends right away, which there's a lot of people out there that would love to be your friend, but
Yeah.
just be like, really set those boundaries of like, this is what I'm looking for. This is
Mhm.
the support I need. And like, this is where my journey is going. Like, will you be there for me, kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly all I
That.
think you need to say.
I'm like, here's the answer, but can you answer? No. Yeah. Like, is that pretty much what you said? Like, this is what I'm looking for. And like, and they just were really supportive.
Yeah, exactly. And again, and I explained to them the why
Yeah.
behind it. Like, if we don't know our why, it's so hard to follow through when things get really tough.
Yeah.
And I think by getting that buy-in in the journey, they were also just really excited for
Yeah.
me when I started to see success and see change. And having the friend that is going to support you as opposed to the friend that's going to judge you makes the biggest difference, right? The friend that's like, hey, what do you want to eat for dinner tonight when we hang out? Versus a friend that's like, she can't hang out with us because she's on a diet, right? It's just such a different energy.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot during that year as well as like who was for me and who wasn't for me as well.
Were those people that judged you like, bye, I'm not friends with you anymore? Or like, how did you handle those
Yeah.
situations?
Um, it really sucked. Like slowly and slowly, we just started to hang out less. I started to get invited to fewer things. I started to feel really left out. Um, Unfortunately, some false rumors were spread about me where people were just like literally lying
Mm.
about my journey and how I was going about it. And that was really hurtful when I later found out about it. But I think the thing that I just need to remind myself, right, is that nobody working harder than you is ever going to criticize you for working hard on improving your life. And so I really had to hold on to that and recognize that if people were saying things about me behind my back, or if they were unhappy about my success, like they just weren't the people for me because the right people were going to be happy for me and they were going to cheer me on regardless at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm really glad you said that too. Like, yeah, the people that, how did you word it? The people that are judging you. How did you word that?
Nobody working hard. I think it's that nobody that's working harder than you is ever going to judge you for working hard on changing your life.
Exactly. And the people that are like, it's usually something internal with them. The other thing that I've noticed just personally with like my non-drinking journey is that I, started to get invited to a little bit less things. And like some friends just started to fall out. And I actually read like
Yeah.
a poem most recently that was like, it's okay to have friends in different chapters of your life. And you can be kind of like a little sad that it was over, but like
Yeah.
also happy with how they were involved in your life. Of course, not if they're judge you or they're mean to you. So those people they're not allowed. But for the most part, like people are in your life for a certain period of time for a
Yeah.
reason. And it's okay to outgrow them because that's how you grow in your fitness and health journey. Like we can't get
Yeah.
further without getting uncomfortable. And sometimes that uncomfortability is getting rid of people that bring you down.
Yeah, exactly. And finding ways to meet the right people in your life, right? So
Yeah.
whether you find those people online, whether you find them in person, just really being brave enough to put yourself out there to find and build your new core group of friends. It's just going to fulfill you in an unspoken kind of way.
So what do you feel like is like maybe one mindset shift or maybe meeting people or something like that that people can do today to kind of break free from some of this like I don't have these friends or I can't have like maybe that fixed mindset. What's one like thing we can give them that they can like kind of break free of that?
I think just remembering that everyone was a beginner at some point. I know that I used to really feel a lot of imposter syndrome at the gym because I would get there and I would have no idea what I was doing or how to use the different equipments. And I'm just gonna say, as an unfit person, I just assumed that fitness people were super judgy because they were all like really fit and they knew what they were doing and like, society really values muscles. But then when I actually went to the gym and I actually just asked someone for help, I realized that gym people are the nicest people that you will ever meet. Like they are so friendly and they are so inclusive and they are so eager to share
Yeah.
this love and passion with others. Like I have literally never had someone be rude to me at the gym before. I've maybe like seen stuff happen where someone's like using a piece of equipment for too long, or, maybe they just don't get gym etiquette, but I've never seen someone ask for help and then just be blatantly rejected by
Yeah.
someone at the gym. So I really think the culture is such a tight knit community and all you have to do is just ask and start showing up and just like be willing to say, I'm a beginner. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you please help me? And I guarantee you 90% of gym people will be so freaking excited just to help you.
Yes, and you'll have that camaraderie next time you go in because you'll connect eyes and you'll potentially even make friends or maybe a lover. Who knows? There's a lot
Yeah.
of there's a lot of really great people at the gym. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And I do feel like it can be very intimidating to people, of course, that you said you're like this
Yeah.
unfit person. I'm like, you're very fit. You're a fitness professional, but I totally get it. Um, how can people take that like first step to just talk to someone besides being like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a beginner. Like, what's something even easier, maybe?
Um, I do think a lot of gyms have like social events and gatherings. I
Okay.
know for me, um, like I took a couple of group classes. So then that was a way to get to know people and you get
Yeah.
to know the trainers as well. And the trainers are the best connectors,
Yeah.
right? So almost every gym, when you first sign up, they'll give you a free personal training session. Their goal is to obviously then sell you a bunch of paid personal training sessions afterwards. But I would just like shamelessly use that free training session to have someone familiarize you with the gym. I would maybe ask them to introduce me to one or two people. And when I first started going to the gym, I noticed that there would usually be like the same, I would always see familiar faces, right? You just get on a gym routine. You're always there Wednesdays at 7 a.m. And so, and I'm a certified introvert. Like I am the introvert influencer. Like there's a reason why I work from home in the privacy of my own little home office. But just walking up to a girl and being like, hey, I noticed, I feel like we both work out like the same time and day every single week. Do you want to actually like go through a workout together next week? And just asking that is a really cool way to get to know someone. And then you can look forward to the workout because now you have someone to go with instead of feeling like, oh, I have to go. It's like, oh, I actually can't wait to see Becky from the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Getting the free training session, locking eyes with people a couple times, like over the course of a couple weeks. Another, like a quick little tip is the front desk person. They are always super
Yeah.
friendly. They'll show you around. You'll have like some camaraderie there, and then you can kind of meet other people through them, which is really great. So, Jen, this was so wonderful. I feel like we could talk about this for so much longer. Where can people find
Yeah.
you and like learn more about you and your program and like who you work with?
Yeah, people can find me on Instagram and TikTok. It's at Jen's Gym, but it's Jen with a G. So it's short for Genevieve. A lot of people mix that up. So Jen's Gym, GENSGYM. Consider me your diet culture demystifying internet big sis. I'm here to
Love
make
it.
complicated diet things feel really simple and easy. On their website is jensgym.com. I know it's very difficult to remember, but really I'm just here to help in any way that I can, whether it's recipes, weight loss inspo, or just daily gym and health humor. That's what I'm here for.
Amazing. I love that so much. By the way, is your last name Coco? You don't have to tell us your real last name, but I'm like, I love the Jen Coco.
No, that's just that was like my high school nickname because Mean Girls came out and
Yes.
it was Glenn Coco. And so my maiden name is Cohen,
Oh, yeah.
Cohen. So it
Okay.
was just a natural transition from Cohen to Coco. And 15 years later, it's still stuck.
Here you are. I would stick with it. It's great. It's a great nickname. Like with a name like Tara, you can't really like do a nickname from it. So I'm always a little jelly when I see like a really cool
uh,
nickname like that.
Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you
What
so
can I
much for
say?
being here, Jen. I appreciate you and really looking forward to get this episode out there to reach more women. Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.